What's up, guys? It's Neptune, and today I'm going to be talking about why I think Borderlands 3 is worth buying in 2020 if you've thought about it at all. Now, seeing as it's not a completely new game, most people interested in it probably have already looked into it or have gotten it, but if you're anything like me and you weren't too sure about it, this video's for you. So I'm just going to go over my top reasons why it's worth it in 2020, especially if you can pick it up on sale. I highly recommend getting it because it's just that fucking fun. Honestly, I didn't think I was really gonna like it, and I didn't honestly know if I would ever buy another Borderlands game ever again when I first saw some things about this game when it first came out. But thankfully I have picked it up, and it's quickly become not only my favorite Borderlands game but one of my favorite games in general. And I've just binged it basically for the past two and a half weeks, and played nothing else, and pretty much just ran through all the content, and it's just a hell of a fun fucking game gameplay-wise. Now, there's definitely some just criticisms that you can read online about some aspects of the game, and the writing. There's definitely some justly criticized areas, but the gameplay alone, honestly, everything else aside, the gameplay alone is so fun that I honestly thought it's kind of a disservice if I didn't just make this video. Specifically for anyone who might be a fan of the previous Borderlands games, but just never got around to this game, didn't know if it would be worth it or not. It honestly, in my opinion, really is. Like I said, especially if you can grab it on sale, it's really worth the money just for the gameplay and the visuals. So, before I yammer on for too long, let's get into some of the first reasons. But before that, quickly, just want to say, I don't get paid for this. I'm not buddies with Randy. I'm not getting paid by Gearbox. I don't get shit for this. I'm just doing this purely for the people. So, if you could drop a like, leave a comment, subscribe, all that jazz, that would help a lot. Alright, let's get into it. And the first aspect would be visuals, so let's get into that. Alright, so one of the first things I noticed in this game was just how beautiful it is. So I'm in the very first area that you experience. Right when you get off the bus, you get right off the bus, like right here. And let's just talk about how beautiful this game is for a minute. It's still a Borderlands game, so it's not super ultra realistic, but the way the lighting is handled in this game is way more realistic than any other Borderlands game that I've played, and it honestly really changes the tone of how this game feels and looks. But it still keeps the comic book cel-shaded style that makes Borderlands, obviously, but the lighting really changes it a lot for me. It's really improved over the game. So if you look on my gun here, on the receiver, on the metal, just the sun flare and the reflection and the way it changes with the pattern of the Damascus steel and everything, that just fucking looks really good. But not even just that, like you see the metal reflection, the way the sun reflects off of that, the way it reflects off of different materials like this metal pipe versus this wet sort of water puddle here versus how sun reflects off of concrete, you can see, versus the way it reflects off of metal on this car. You get little sun flares when sun hits a reflective surface and bounces off at a strange angle. It's just really cool how realistic the lighting is in this game. Even little rocks like this, I don't know, which isn't really impressive for realistic games like big AAA titles, but for a Borderlands game, I don't think they really went this in-depth before, or at least it didn't look nearly as good. All shadows on these little rocks being cast in the correct spot. Even little plants like this have their own shadows. And another cool thing about plants now is that they not only blow in the wind, as you can see, but they have collision now, so they bend when you walk over them. They bend and move out of the way and whatnot, so that's cool. Not a big thing, but all the little things that they've added in and changed they really add up and really make it more immersive. Another thing I noticed is you can see your legs now. So any game that you can see your legs in is immediately more immersive. That's pretty fucking cool. And let's see here. When the wind blows, you can actually see sand getting blown across the ground, which is not really significant, but it's just a really fucking cool touch. That looks really cool, the way they did it. just adds, and you can see the sand just blowing across the ground. It's just a really cool feature that they've added in. Just makes, it just really makes the game more immersive, and just really makes you feel like you're actually in a really windy, sandy environment. So, other than like just the fact that the detail has gone up so much, like if you look at the skag pile, the amount of detail that's gone up in just a skag pile really shows that it's not just big things like rocks or buildings that they've upgraded textures on. Everything from the pavement, the little grass, the sand, skag piles, even plants themselves have the textures have been upgraded significantly. And yeah, all to top it off with the way the lighting's handled in this new upgraded, it's either an upgraded or a new engine. I think it's just an upgraded engine. But just the way the lighting's handled really just is the icing on the cake for this game. So visually, 10 out of 10 for me, for a Borderlands game at least. It's visually the best looking game in the series, as you would expect, but it really is surprising to me, honestly. So let's move on to the next one. Alright, we're here in Roland's Rest, so let's talk about sliding before we get into climbing. Sliding is basically sliding, okay? There's not much to say. You sprint, you go crouch, and you slide. Not only can you slide, but you can spin around while sliding. You can spin around and shoot while sliding. And going down a hill or something adds momentum and speed, so you slide further and faster as you do it. So that's pretty cool. And taking all that into consideration, you can now slide around on your back doing 360s while shooting at bosses in a Borderlands game. So, I mean, need I say more? That's just pretty badass there, and that's all you need to know, essentially. Moving on, let's talk about climbing. So climbing is super smooth in this game. It's not linear like a lot of games, meaning it's not super obvious where you can and can't climb, and it's not locked to basically one path like a lot of games are that have climbing. So in previous games, like even a wall like this, you'd have to spam jump to try to take a shortcut like that, and it probably wouldn't work. In this game, you just walk up to it, you just double jump. Oh, look. You climbed up a 3-foot wall, as you should be able to. So that's really nice. You're a lot freer to traverse the maps however you want, get away from enemies really quickly and smoothly, and it feels really badass. So you could literally be in a fight with 40 dudes shooting at you, and you could just climb up 3 levels like you just saw. I'm up 1 level. I'm up 2 levels, I'm up 3 levels, and I'm jumping across onto a little beam, and then, you know, sliding behind cover. Like, you can really feel really badass when you're climbing. And the cool thing about it is that it's a really nice balance of smooth, but not too hand-holding. And what I mean by that is, a lot of games, you point at a ledge and you climb it, and it'll kind of just suck you into a fixed animation, and it just does it for you. but you have to be like looking right at the ledge. And this, it's forgiving enough that you don't have to be perfect with where you're looking, but it's not gonna just let you just click a button while you're facing a wall. That sort of, you know, you're not just jump and climb up. You have to be looking roughly where you want to go and jump, but it doesn't just suck you up. So it's not super handholdy. Excuse me, it's not super handholdy, but it's smooth enough that it's just really, really fucking fun and really implemented well. And it's not linear to the point where you can only climb obvious certain ledges. Like this isn't even a straight wall, but you can climb up this. A little thing like this, you could climb up here, climb up the side of it, climb up this rounded thing, jump into a tree if you want, all that jazz. It's just really smooth, and it allows you to traverse like huge amounts of terrain on maps very quickly. And like I said, you could be getting shot at by like 40 dudes, and you're like, okay, I gotta get out of here, and you can just hop a fence, jump up on a roof, jump to like another roof, and you know, slide into some cover. Like you can really just get out of any situation almost, which is really cool. Alright, so the next really cool feature I want to talk about is the new alt mode firing, or the new alt firing mode system for Borderlands 3. So not all gun manufacturers have this option, only some manufacturers have this option, but basically it adds a different firing mode to guns, and it works really well with certain manufacturers, some better than others. If we take a look at this Malawan now, Malawan's sort of gimmick, if you will, is that they always fire elemental rounds. So what's really cool about alt firing modes on Malawan is that they're always dual elements when there's a alternate firing mode. So you basically can have two elements packed into one gun, which can cut down on not only how much you have to carry in your backpack, but also how many of a specific weapon you have to keep equipped in your equip slot, because you can only equip 4 weapons at a time. So cutting down, like combining a shock and an incendiary weapon into one, so you're really good against flesh and really good against shields. You combine that into one gun, that's extremely useful. It's really cool. So I have a Malawan pistol here, just a random one. I'm in radiation element right now. And then alt mode into cryo, and that's another cool thing, I guess we'll talk about that quickly, is that there's 2 new elements in Borderlands 3. Cryo, it freezes people, and radiation, which just irradiates and can pass on to nearby enemies when enemies are irradiated. So it's just really cool. It just swaps between the two. Some different types of alt modes. Here's a Vladov assault rifle. You have your rifle mode, and then you have an alt mode, which is a grenade launcher. So that's pretty cool. What else? We have a Vladov sniper. It's a sniper rifle, but it has an underbarrel shotgun attachment that after you shoot the magazine, it takes a little cooldown period, but you can flip it back and use it. What else we got? We have another Vladov sniper here, and it has a underbarrel RPG attachment. How cool is that? And there's a bunch of other different types of things like that. Like, let's see, just a quick example here. Let's look at that. Let's look at dolls have a lot of different type of zoom and firing modes, like a burst fire, but semi-auto with a little bit of extra zoom. Burst fire, hit the magnifier and you zoom in and you get semi-auto instead. Same thing for full auto. Hit the magnifier, you get more zoom, and it's now burst fire. So that's really cool. It can make certain gimmicks of certain manufacturers work better. If you remember back to Borderlands 2, doll snipers were always burst fire when ADS, which was kind of annoying. So now you get more options, so that's kind of cool. You can still have burst fire sniper, but if you want to use it like a traditional sniper, you can now. And again, Malawan, it works really well with the different elements, things like that. And different manufacturers have different things. There's tracking darts. I think there's flamethrowers on some things. I've seen shotguns, grenade launchers, RPGs, like you saw. All types of cool stuff. It just really adds into the diversity of the loot pool, really. So yeah, it's pretty cool. Alright, so let's talk about the changes made to action skills and skill trees. So, action skills first. Now, in previous Borderlands games, you only had one action skill. But in Borderlands 3, now each playable character can choose between 3 different action skills. So that's really nice because you can really choose to play a character how you want to play them, because you have 3 different sort of play styles based around the action skills. So that's really cool addition, just really more in-depth with it. And Zane, one of the playable characters, can even actually have 2 action skills equipped at one time if he sacrifices the ability to throw grenades, which is a trade-off for him because he's really strong with grenade builds, but being able to have 2 action skills at once is pretty badass. Especially with Zane, you can really play like a strong support character with 2 action skills going at the same time. As for skill tree changes, basically they function the same way as other Borderlands games. To get deeper into the tree, down into the next tier, you have to put a certain amount of points in the previous tier, and then you unlock the next tier, and so on and so forth, and you can go deeper into the tree. Other than that, there's a lot more 1 out of 1 and 3 out of 3 skills, as you can see, and they're structured just a little bit less uniform than previous games, but yeah, there's a lot more 1 out of 1s and 3 out of 3 skills. You see these things on the side here. These are action skill augments. Now, what those do are, they're basically little perks that you can equip that modify or gives certain bonuses to your currently equipped action skill. And you have 2 slots, so you can have 2 of them going at once. And how you unlock these is basically they unlock just like a skill point. Once, say for this augment right here, once you unlock these tier skills, this would unlock, and same, once you unlock these skills, this would unlock, and so on and so forth. They unlock the same way as skill points, but they don't actually cost any skill points to equip. They just you can just equip them immediately for free. So that's another really cool touch that really lets you personalize your action skill even further. Excuse me. These things on the right, for Flak at least, are pets and upgraded versions of pets. And for other characters, they will be just more action skill augments or upgraded things for their action skill. Now, you can't use, say, for example, if you want to use a blue tree augment, you can't use a blue tree action skill augment with a green tree action skill. You have to use the same action skill as the augment. You have to use the same tree. So if you want to use blue tree augment, you have to use blue tree action skill. Alright, so that wraps up my top reasons why Borderlands 3 is worth it. All criticisms of this game aside, because it definitely has some just criticisms, mainly the story, but all those aside, it's definitely worth the buy, especially if you can get it on sale from Steam, Humble Bundle, Epic Games, anywhere you can get it on sale. It's definitely worth it just from a gameplay perspective, and especially if you're a fan of any of the other Borderlands games and you haven't played this game yet, it's definitely worth it. And even if you're a new player, you've never played any of the games, even though it's lacking compared to some of the other game stories, the gameplay is definitely the best by far in this game. So this isn't a bad first Borderlands to jump into by any means, but pretty much, yeah, it's I definitely recommend it just purely for the gameplay. That's how fun it is. So that about wraps it up, guys. Leave a like, leave a comment, all that jazz, subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.